killed over the weekend. We'll have the latest from the Missouri State Highway Patrol. And a well-known federal student loan service has made a major change. Find out what and how it affects you. Plus, she was told she would never walk again, but she just ran a half marathon. We'll have that story plus sports, weather, and more here on LUTV News. Welcome to this edition of LUTV News. I'm Genell Jeffries. The Lions rugby team suffered a tragic loss with the death of Charles Lavery last Friday. Lavery was 22 years old. Most people called him Frenchie. He was an international student from France. Lavery was in his sophomore year studying international business at Lindenwood University. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says that accident happened on Interstate 70 early Friday morning. They say Lavery was attempting to walk across the highway. He was then struck by the first vehicle, a 2008 Honda Civic, and then again by a second vehicle. The second vehicle was never identified. Police are investigating after a shooting on Interstate 44 early Monday morning. 3 women say they heard gunshots at around 2:40 a.m. on Monday as a car sped past them. 2 of the 3 women were hit multiple times. Both women have been hospitalized and are in stable condition. Panera Bread says no more packing and guns are no longer welcome. The restaurant has decided to prohibit any firearms within the restaurant's premises. The decision was made after the organization Moms Demand Action convinced the company to change their gun policy. The effect took place on Monday at every location around the United States and Canada. Moms Demand Action has also convinced big-name companies such as Chipotle, Sonic, and Target. A St. Charles man has a warrant out for his arrest. 32-year-old Jeremiah Crusoe was charged with first-degree sexual misconduct on Tuesday. He is accused of exposing himself to adults and children at a bus stop. The alleged misconduct took place on the 900 block of Rolling Thunder in O'Fallon. He faces a $10,000 bond. If you have any information, contact O'Fallon Police Department at 636-379-5003. Straight ahead on LUTV News, Lindenwood University brought awareness to domestic violence last Wednesday. The symptoms for Ebola are as follows: red eyes, raised rash, coughing, chest pains, nausea, vomiting, and stomach pains. If you have any of these symptoms, please go to the doctor immediately. This herb garden will be ready for use in the spring of 2015. Ice is covering every car. Find out what MoDOT is doing to protect you here on LUTV News up next. The Cardinals clinch the NLC division, which means they are the protesters were met with numerous county police forces blocking Hanley Bridge on both sides. Helicopters also circled the area. The protest last Wednesday was meant to give a special prosecutor to the Michael Brown trial. While people gathered to begin the protest at 4:30 p.m., police were already set up. Protesters are getting angry that they are not getting answers from police as to why they are not able to cross the Hanley Bridge. One protester we saw expressed her anger towards the officers.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
I asked one officer why they were not letting protesters on the bridge, and he declined to comment. Ferguson resident Marcus Mule says he knew police would be on the scene to direct traffic, but he didn't think they would block the protesters.
This right here is just ridiculous on how they treating us right now. This is not justice. This is not them even showing a part of community obedience for being a police officer.
Some people began to discuss plans for the next protest. Some protesters say organization is important to create change.
I think for those who are organizing protests, we just got to go back home and figure out, how to do it better.
Protesters are calling for the removal of Bob McCullough as prosecutor in the Michael Brown trial at the County Council meeting Tuesday. For LUTV News, I'm Genell Jeffries. Back to you in the studio. Here at 84 Gillette Field, close in Weldon Springs, there has been an infestation of thousands of brown recluse spiders. The 2,400 square foot home has been covered with a tent by McCarthy Pest and Termite Control. This tent is pumping poisonous gas into the house to destroy the termites and protect the structure of the house. But don't worry, outside of the tent, you're perfectly safe. The brown recluse spider is common in the Midwest. In fact, they live in more than half of Missouri homes. These spiders cause necrosis and leave severe scarring. Service technician Terry Nanning from Terminix says the spiders will always be around.
You usually never get rid of them totally because once they infest a structure, they're always present. It takes time, a year or so, just to get them under control.
Some Weldon Spring residents have had their homes inspected since this incident began in 2007. One Weldon Spring resident has a suggestion for all homeowners.
To make sure that they get their houses evaluated for that insect or spider.
Another homeowner has been living in Weldon Spring for 19 years. She handled her creepy crawler neighbors in a different way.
I've never been concerned one bit about these spiders, not at all. I feel like I probably did some Google searches or something on brown recluse spiders and found out that they don't really travel.
For LUTV News, I'm Genell Jeffries. Coming up on LUTV News, find out why you might want to buy a pumpkin after Halloween. Protesters gathered outside the Ferguson Police Department on Friday. They are awaiting the fate of the officer that fatally shot Michael Brown. Many protesters believe they will see changes after the grand jury makes a decision. One protester held up a sign representing 53 white officers and 3 black officers on the Ferguson Police Department.
I'm hoping that there'll be more black officers on the force because I didn't know that, but it always came to mind somewhere or another in the back of my head that something was always uneven.
Another supporter is Pastor Derek Robinson. He says he does this for his 2 sons. He says he has been in Ferguson for 105 days, every night and every day.
Sure that my sons are not afraid of police brutality. I want to make sure that my sons are not killed against police brutality.
He also says he has organized many of the events that have occurred. Although many of the Michael Brown protesters are motivated by the racial profiling they themselves have experienced with the Ferguson Police Department, the protesters are not limited to one race. One supporter admits that he has not had the same encounters with the Ferguson Police Department as other residents. He does not, however, believe it will be a violent outbreak.
They seem to expect an uprising or unrest of some level. I don't see it.
That may be true, but the region has still taken precaution as they await a decision. For LUTV News, I'm Genell Jeffries.